Yesterday, I met with my former colleague Emerson, whom I collaborated many years, wonderful collaboration. Now, something that he said surprised me, that he was surprised that I'm so interested in AI and sharing AI case studies. That is not much like the Breeze he knows, who is very much people focused on human-centered design, etc. And there I shared with him a case study, a story that I know from firsthand through my collaboration with Tencent Academy on the recent research on AI native organizational design. That whatever I share here, it is still very much centered on human-centered design, on how do we actually create a workplace so that we have the AI as a technology backbone, but ultimately we create workplaces so that both human and AI can flourish. So let me now use a few minutes to share the story of WorkBuddy from Tencent in China and how they have demonstrated this is very possible. First, let me give you 5 numbers. 10, that is how many people were on this team in 2023. A small coding tools group inside Tencent Cloud. No traction, no budget, and real doubt about whether they would still exist in the following year. 2, that is how many of them built the first working version of WorkBuddy that made them famous. Over a single weekend in January, a product lead and a colleague from operations. 2,000, that is how many of their own colleagues were using it every day before it went public, from HR, admin, operations, marketing. Out of those users, none of them are engineers. Another number, 100, that is roughly how many people are on the team today, less than a year later. And 43, this is how many versions they shipped in their first 3 months at that size. So sit with those last 2 numbers together. They went from 10 people to 100 people, and they got faster, not slower. This is a part that should interest us, because that is not what normally happens. We all know the pattern. We start at 10 and everybody knows everything. You reach 30 and you appoint a coordinator. You reach 60 and you introduce a process. You reach 100 and you have layers and a weekly sync meeting, a planning ritual, and a slowly growing feeling that the work has become the reporting on the work. This team went another way. They call themselves a swarm. That is their own word, not mine. Flat, self-directed, organized around problems rather than around functions. And when they grew 10 times over, they scaled at that shape instead of replacing it with a hierarchy. So how does 100 people coordinate without all the meetings? 3 things, and none of them are about technology. The first is that decision traveled short distances. When WorkBuddy lead had the idea, there was no proposal, no steering committee, no business case. He recorded a video of the thing working and sent it to his manager. He had approval that same night. The second is that they stayed physically close to the real problem. Years earlier, to win their first serious customer, the same product lead moved into a bank's data center for nearly 3 weeks, running the meetings, collecting feedback, shipping new versions on site, in the room with the people who would use them. This is not a technology strategy, it's a humanity strategy. And the third is that the one I think matters most. They move their best thinking upstream. Instead of spending their energy on producing the work, they spent it on defining the work, precisely enough that it could be checked. What good looks like, where the bottlenecks lie, where the boundaries are, what must never happen. Then people step in on the exceptions, on the failures, on the judgment calls. I want to name what that really is, because it is easy to mistake it for a tool story. It is a shift in where human attention is considered most valuable, away from execution and towards clarity. And clarity is a genuinely difficult, deeply human skill. Almost nobody hires for it, almost nobody trains for it, almost nobody promotes for it. Now, let me give you the other side, because I do not think this case deserves to be told as a fairy tale. It was expensive. Tencent's own quarterly results show its new products in this category weighed on operating profit by roughly 8.8 billion RMB. Small team, not a small bill. It was intense. By the team's own description, they worked what in China is called 007. Every hour, every day, the speed was real and it was not free. And it may not transfer to you. This was a group of tool builders building tools for themselves in a domain where correct can actually be tested. If your work is regulated advice or clinical judgment or negotiations or caretaking, defining done is far harder and far more consequential to get wrong. So if you are listening to this and you feel behind, like everyone else has already reorganized and you are the only one still sitting in the handcuffs, I want to be clear with you. You are not behind. You're being sold urgency. Take the structure, take the short decision distance, take the closeness to the real customer, take the discipline of defining what good looks like before anyone starts working. Do not take the exhaustion. A model that burns through people is not an operating model, it's a countdown. Here is where I will leave you. 10 people did this inside a company of tens of thousands, which means the constraint was never headcount, it was never budget, and it was almost never permission. It was the willingness to ask a question most of us quietly avoid because the answer is uncomfortable. Is our way of working still the right shape for the work we are actually doing? You already know the answer. The only real question is what you will do about it. In the next few sessions, I like to also talk about the actual collaboration, the human energy and the attention that's required in working this way, and how we could actually take care of the human element in the work with AI.